This is one of those stories that lives in Hong Kong film circles. The kind old crew members tell in bars after a few drinks, when conversation turns to Bruce Lee. The legend of the deleted scene. The footage that was too real. They say it happened at Golden Harvest Studios. Stage 4, early 1972. Bruce Lee filming Game of Death. His passion project. The yellow tracksuit movie, everyone remembers. The pagoda, the different levels. But there was supposedly a scene that never made any cut. A scene the studio locked away the same day it was filmed. Some say too violent. Others claim too real, that audiences wouldn't believe it was choreographed. That they'd think they were watching actual combat filmed without consent. Actual violence captured on camera. The story goes maybe 20 people saw it, that it sits in a vault somewhere in Kowloon, that collectors offer fortunes for even a still frame, that witnesses signed agreements, that they won't talk about specific details decades later. Just say it changed how they understood fighting, changed what they thought possible in 3 minutes of film. This is that legend. Whether every detail is exact or embellished over 50 years, nobody can say. The studio never confirmed or denied. Footage never surfaced, but the core story reportedly remains true among those who were there. The scene too dangerous to show. Golden Harvest Studios. Kowloon. Stage 4 houses the Game of Death set. 5 floors built vertical. Each level, a different fighting style. Japanese, Korean, Filipino, Chinese, Western boxing. Bruce's revolutionary concept. Yellow tracksuit, iconic against changing opponents. Simple design, black stripes. Built to show motion. But, allegedly, there was a 6th floor. Level 0, they called it. The basement level. The cage level. The test that comes before the tower begins. Where philosophy and style don't matter. Just raw survival. Crew members describe it in careful fragments. 30-foot circular room. Chain link fence for walls. Industrial grade. The kind used in warehouses and prisons. Concrete floor stained from decades. Industrial lights hanging on cables. Harsh white light casting geometric shadows. No mats. No safety equipment. The fence makes the space feel smaller. Claustrophobic. Makes everything feel immediate. This is where the deleted scene supposedly took place. The opponent reportedly a stunt coordinator from the Philippines. Name lost to legend or protected by agreement. Martial artist with 20 years experience. Real fights in Manila. Street experience in places where rules don't exist. 6'1", 220, heavy for his height. All muscle. Trained in Kali and Eskrima, Filipino martial arts, originally built for knife fighting. For blade defense. For situations where losing means dying, where hesitation means fatal injury. The kind of training that doesn't translate cleanly to sport. The script allegedly calls him simply the cage fighter. No character name, no backstory. Just function, just purpose. 4 cameras set up. 2 high angles mounted near ceiling. 2 ground level on tripods. Film running continuously. 3 minutes planned. No cuts, no breaks. Bruce supposedly insists on this. No editing tricks later. Everything visible, everything documented. Everything real or as real as film can capture. Bruce enters, wearing the yellow tracksuit. The one that becomes iconic. Black canvas shoes, worn soft. No gloves, no hand wraps, no protection. The cage fighter enters opposite. Dark training clothes. Bare feet, hands loose. Eyes that reportedly saw real violence, real consequences, the kind of look that comes from actual experience. The tension allegedly changes the air pressure in Stage 4. Several crew members later described feeling it physically. Something different about this shoot. Medical staff, standing by. Not the usual set medic. Emergency room doctors. Ambulance parked outside with engine running. That's when people understood what they were about to witness. They circle. Not movie choreography. Real assessment. Real fighters, reading each other. Looking for patterns in movement. Checking distance with subtle shifts. Testing timing. The fence rattles when either moves near it. Metal sounds sharp in the concrete space. The cage fighter reportedly moves first. Closing distance fast. Testing Bruce's reaction. Testing how he handles pressure. Bruce doesn't retreat. Subtle shift. 6 inches lateral weight transfer, almost invisible. Suddenly, the attack hits air. Momentum carrying the cage fighter slightly past center. Off balance briefly. Bruce's hand snaps out. Not a movie punch. Real strike, fingers rigid. Targeting the throat just below the Adam's apple. The kind of strike that could crush cartilage. Close airway. It stops 1 centimeter away. 1. The cage fighter freezes completely. Understands precisely how close he came. Backs off. Resets his feet. This isn't movie fighting. This is something he hasn't encountered. They engage again. The cage fighter attacks with combinations now. Low kick to test reaction. Hand strike. Elbow follow-up. Multiple threats at multiple levels. Real fighting. The kind learned in places where losing has consequences. Bruce redirects everything. Doesn't block. Doesn't meet force with force. The kick hits fence instead of leg. Metal rattles loud enough that cameras pick up the sound. The hand strike meets air. Where Bruce's head was a fraction before. The elbow comes close, but Bruce is already behind the guard. It shade bestues entry trade. The venting seemed to sticky de vitfrizi alv. Already positioned for counter. That doesn't come. What happens next? Allegedly makes the cameramen flinch. Makes them pull back from viewfinders. Beat 1. Bruce's elbow drives toward the cage fighter's spine, between shoulder blades, where ribs protect vital organs. The kind of strike that could crack ribs inward, could cause serious internal damage. Full power, full speed. The yellow sleeve becomes blur. Beat 2. Sharp exhale. Not from impact. From the cage fighter's body anticipating impact. From every muscle tensing, from nervous system firing emergency protocols. The sound carries in the concrete room. Beat 3. Bruce stops. Completely. Full power to 0. Stopped. 1 inch from contact. Elbow hovering. Control absolute. The message clearer than words. I could have. But I chose not to. Understand the difference. The cage fighter drops to one knee. Not from impact. From understanding. From realization. Flooding his system. How completely he was read. How easily he could have been seriously hurt. His hands touch concrete. Supporting weight. Processing what just happened. They continue. The cage fighter more cautious now. More measured. Treating Bruce differently. With respect earned through demonstration. But then something shifts. He stops trying to win. Stops being defensive. Starts attacking with everything. Full commitment. Refusing to quit despite understanding he can't win. This allegedly is what Bruce wants. What he designed this test to find. Not can you beat someone better. Can you handle someone who won't stop? Bruce has to work now. Really work. Move faster. Use everything. The yellow tracksuit becomes blur of motion. Speed so extreme cameras struggle to capture individual movements. Film can only process so many frames per second. Movement faster than that becomes smear. Reportedly, the director of photography later says, reviewing footage he couldn't count the strikes, couldn't track individual movements, just continuous motion that looked like special effect, except it wasn't. Then, Bruce changes the game entirely. Stops countering. Starts overwhelming instead of defense. He attacks. Combinations the stunt team will reportedly spend months trying to recreate for other films. Trying to break down into individual components they can teach. Speed that doesn't look real even when you watch it happen. Even when you see it frame by frame. Power that makes air pressure change. That makes sound. That makes the fence vibrate from displacement alone. He drives the cage fighter to the fence. Chain link rattling violent. Sustained rattle like machine gun fire. Like sustained impact. Back hits metal hard. Impact that must hurt. Must leave marks. Nowhere to retreat. Nowhere to escape. Nowhere to go but down or through. Trapped against chain link with nowhere left. Bruce's hand comes up. Palm strike driving toward face. Not pulled. Not movie strike. Real palm heel driving from full extension. Full power. Full commitment. The kind that could break nose. Shatter orbital bone. Drive bone fragments inward. 'Cause permanent damage. 'Cause death if angle wrong. If force concentrated wrong. It stops. 1 millimeter from the cage fighter's face. 1 millimeter. Less than the width of a dime. The width of 10 sheets of paper stacked. The distance you can't consciously control. The distance that requires something beyond technique. Beyond training. Beyond what should be human. Close enough to feel air pressure change. Feel displacement. Feel the heat radiating from Bruce's palm. Feel breath. Stop. Feel time stop. Feel heart skip. Know exactly how close to serious injury, how close to permanent damage, how close to everything changing in that instant. His legs give. Not from impact. From neurological response. From body's emergency shutdown. From understanding flooding every nerve, he slides down the fence. Chain link rattling as back drags against it. Sits on concrete, breathing hard, hands shaking. Not from exertion. From adrenaline. From coming that close. Bruce steps back. Breathing steady. Not winded despite 3 minutes of that intensity. Despite moving at speeds that shouldn't be sustainable. Extends his hand, helps the cage fighter up. Checks him carefully, checks his neck. His ribs. Makes sure he's actually okay. Makes sure nothing actually damaged, despite how close everything came. The respect obvious in his eyes. In his body language. In the way he holds space. The cage fighter fought with honor. With everything he had. With heart that wouldn't quit even when skill said he should. That matters to Bruce more than winning. Honor matters. Heart matters. The crew stands silent. Complete silence in a room full of people. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. They just watched 3 minutes of continuous fighting. No cuts, no camera tricks. Just two skilled people engaged in something that looked too real, too dangerous. Cameras stop rolling. Bruce and the cage fighter talk quietly near the fence. Low voices. Private conversation between fighters. Body language says everything. Mutual respect earned through honest test. The cage fighter keeps touching his face. Not from pain, from disbelief at how close Bruce came. At the precision required to stop at 1 millimeter. The next day, allegedly brings a studio meeting. Golden Harvest executives on one side. Legal team on the other. Bruce in the middle. They've watched the footage. All 3 minutes. Multiple times. They have serious concerns. Senior executive speaks carefully. This is too real. Too violent. Audiences will think it's actual fighting, not staged. The liability concerns alone are massive. Bruce argues this is the point. This is what real fighting looks like. Truth. The audience deserves to see truth. Legal counsel shakes head. Can't release this. Ratings board will never approve. Parents will protest. Insurance won't cover it. This crosses lines we didn't know existed. Bruce realizes they're serious. All that work will never be seen. The studio offers compromise. Keep the footage. Locked. Maybe someday the world will be ready. But not now. Too far ahead of its time. Bruce agrees reluctantly. Understands their position, even if he disagrees. The scene gets cataloged. Filed. Stored. 3 minutes maybe 20 people saw. Years later, the cage fighter reportedly gave one interview. Small newspaper in Manila. Described Bruce as the most skilled fighter he ever faced. Said the control was inhuman. Said stopping that strike at 1 millimeter was impossible, yet Bruce did it. Said he still dreams about it decades later, the moment death came close enough to touch his face. The moment he understood what real mastery looks like. Crew members, who claim to have witnessed it, rarely speak about specific details. Describe something between sport and combat, between demonstration and war. Say cameras captured it, but film can't truly show what it felt like in that room. The tension. The understanding they were watching something that transcended normal filmmaking. Stage 4 at Golden Harvest allegedly got renovated years later. The cage set dismantled. Fence sold as scrap metal. But some people who worked that day claim something remains. Echo. Memory. The space remembers what happened. Bruce died in 1973, before Game of Death was finished. The film completed 5 years later using body doubles. Different footage. The final version shows 4 levels in the pagoda, not 6. The cage scene remains locked. Level 0 never mentioned. The vault allegedly remains locked at Golden Harvest Studios in Kowloon. Collectors reportedly offer 6 and 7 figures for the footage. The studio refuses every offer. The yellow tracksuit exists in storage somewhere. The fence was sold as scrap decades ago. But 3 minutes of film remain. Protected. Hidden. Waiting for the day audiences understand that real fighting looks nothing like performance. Those who claim to have seen it say the most terrifying moment wasn't violence. Wasn't the strikes. Wasn't the speed or power. It was watching Bruce stop 1 millimeter away. Watching him choose restraint when he could have chosen destruction. Watching control so absolute it looked more dangerous than chaos. Real violence wasn't striking. Real violence was having the power to strike and stopping 1 millimeter away.